Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something, well, fascinating and frankly a bit unsettling. Heart disease, right? Our leading cause of death. It was actually shown to be reversible with simple diet and lifestyle changes decades ago, yet hundreds of thousands of people still perish from it every single year. It just highlights this critical disconnect, doesn't it? Why does it take an average of 17 years for this kind of groundbreaking research to actually filter down into day-to-day clinical practice? It seems crazy. So our mission today is to cut through some of that delay. We're taking a deep dive into How Not to Diet by Michael Greger, MD. We've got a ton of information you sent us from this book, and our goal is really to pull out the most important nuggets, to shortcut your way to being well-informed about healthy, sustainable weight control. The author himself says it's less like one diet book and more like 40 books packed into one, which tells you something about the scope. It covers this incredible range, everything from cultivating a healthy microbiome in your gut.
Yeah, the gut stuff is huge.
To manipulating your metabolism through chronobiology, basically. How your body's internal clocks affect hunger, digestion, how you burn calories, all that. Think of it as a kind of detective story, broken into 4 parts. First, exploring the obesity problem itself.
Getting to the roots of it?
Exactly. Then identifying the optimal ingredients for weight loss. After that, stacking up all the existing diets we hear about. And finally, uncovering these powerful weight loss boosters, little tweaks. So we'll look at the causes, the consequences, maybe some surprising ones, and the solutions that have been tried and, well, often failed when it comes to obesity. Then we'll shift into the evidence-based strategies for, healthy, sustainable weight control that actually works.
Yeah, and what's really interesting right off the bat is how the book challenges that common idea,
Okay.
that obesity is mostly just about not exercising enough or lacking willpower, just overeating. But the studies using really advanced methods actually showed it was caloric intake, not how active people were, that predicted weight gain over time.
Really? So exercise wasn't the main factor?
Not in predicting the gain, no. And interestingly, people who tend to blame lack of exercise, they were actually more likely to be overweight themselves. And they were observed sort of covertly eating more sweets when tempted.
Huh. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and it's similar with genetics. Believing it's all down to your genes can lead people to eat significantly more cookies in studies. Our beliefs really do shape our actions, subtly.
Okay, so if it's not just gluttony or sloth, as the book puts it,
Right.
then what is the main driver?
Well, the book puts forward this idea that maybe obesity is simply a normal response to a totally abnormal environment. Our bodies, they evolved over millions of years under pressure to binge and store calories when food was scarce.
Makes sense. Feast or famine.
Exactly. But we never really developed an upper limit for fat storage because massive abundance wasn't the problem back then. We were basically built for scarcity, living in abundance.
And the scale of this is just staggering.
It really is. It's estimated now that more than 90% of American adults are considered overfat.
90%.
Yeah, defined as having enough excess body fat to actually impair health. And this can happen even if you're technically a normal weight on the scale.
Wow.
And over 70% of us are statistically overweight by BMI or scale weight. It's the norm now almost. And one of the most striking things, I think, is the impact across generations. The mother's environment. There's data comparing siblings born before and after their mother had weight loss surgery.
Okay.
The kids born when the mother weighed significantly more, they have 3 times the risk of severe obesity later on.
3 times, just based on the mother's weight during pregnancy.
It appears so. It really underlines how critical it is to prevent and treat obesity now, to stop passing it down the line.
That generational point is huge. It really makes you think about how systemic this is. So if our bodies are wired for this abnormal environment, what exactly changed? When did things get so abnormal?
The book points pretty clearly to the late 1970s. That's when you see this sharp rise in the calories available in the U.S. food supply. And similar spikes happen globally, too. And that increase in available calories is more than enough, mathematically, to explain the entire obesity epidemic.
Just the sheer amount of food available.
Pretty much. By the year 2000, the U.S. was producing something like 3,900 calories a day for every single person, man, woman, and child.
That's almost double what many people need.
Exactly. Almost double.
And where are all these extra calories coming from? The book gets into that, right?
Oh, yeah. And this is where it gets really interesting. A lot of this increase, especially corn, it's fed to livestock.
Ah, okay. For meat and dairy production.
Right. And agricultural policies, both in the U.S. and Europe, have deliberately lowered the cost of basic cash crops, think sugar, and staples like meat, wheat, dairy, eggs. This has created this pricing structure where cheap sugars, oils, and animal products are heavily favored. It's just economics.
So the unhealthy stuff becomes the cheapest option.
Precisely. Which is why things like candies and fried snacks are consistently the most profitable items for supermarkets. And get this, more than half of all the calories consumed by most U.S. adults now come from these subsidized foods.
Half. Wow. And these are linked to chronic disease risk factors.
Directly linked. Higher levels of risk factors, yeah.
So what does this all mean for us, like day to day? We think we're making conscious choices.
We like to think that, yeah. But the reality is most of our daily food behavior is automatic. It's triggered by unconscious cues.
Especially when we're tired or stressed, I guess.
Absolutely. And that's where marketing manipulations just thrive. They prey on that automatic pilot. The book argues these tactics are so insidious, so pervasive, they should be considered like invisible toxins, like carcinogens in the air or water that can harm us without us even realizing it.
That's a powerful analogy, invisible toxins.
It is, and the temptation is just everywhere. Food ads constantly. And think about how the types of places selling food just exploded in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, candy at the gas station checkout, right? Office supply stores selling snacks.
Exactly. And now Walmart is the biggest food retailer in the U.S.
And the industry tactics.
Yeah.
You mentioned big tobacco earlier.
Yeah, the book draws that parallel. Using research front groups, trying to muddy the water, subvert the science, deny the links between their products and disease, it's a similar playbook. And the cost is staggering. The global death toll from diets high in trans fat, saturated fat, salt, and sugar is estimated at 14 million lives every year.
14 million. That's almost unbelievable.
It's huge. So the book's argument is strong. The inability to curb obesity. It's not a failure of individual willpower. Yeah. The environment is stacked against us.
And they even manipulate our perception of healthiness, right? The health halo thing.
Oh, absolutely. That's fascinating. Put celery sticks or an apple next to a burger on a menu.
Yeah.
And people estimate the burger has up to 100 fewer calories than if it were shown alone.
Get out! So the healthy item makes the unhealthy one seem less bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And paradoxically, it can lead people to order more dessert or sugary drinks because they feel they've been good or the meal isn't that bad.
Oh, wow.
Even just adding health messages like eat 5 fruits and veggies a day onto a fast food ad, it made people underestimate the burger's calories by over 100. It sort of legitimizes the unhealthy choice in their minds.
That's incredibly sneaky.
It is. And of course, the industry targets children heavily.
Yeah, that's always worrying.
Kids are so susceptible to marketing. They have pester power, right? Throwing tantrums for the advertised product.
Yeah.
And despite all the pledges about self-regulation, breakfast cereals marketed to kids still have, on average, 85% more sugar, 65% less fiber, and 60% more sodium than adult versions.
85% more sugar.
Yeah.
Good grief.
It's a problem.
Yeah. Okay, so we have this environment pushing unhealthy, calorie-dense food on us. What are the actual health consequences the book highlights, beyond just the weight itself?
Well, the links are pretty clear and well established. Being overweight is associated with a significantly increased risk for debilitating diseases. Diabetes, obviously. Gout, arthritis, fatty liver disease, high blood pressure. The list goes on.
Right. And can losing weight actually reverse some of that risk?
Definitely. Weight loss, even achieved through bariatric surgery, can substantially reduce overall cancer risk. There's data showing a sustained loss of about 40 pounds leads to around 1/3 fewer cancers over a decade.
1/3 fewer cancers. That's significant.
Very significant. But then there's this controversial idea, the obesity paradox.
Ah, yes, I've heard of that. What does the book say?
It touches on it. It's this finding initially from some CDC scientists suggesting that being overweight, specifically grade 1 obesity, might actually be advantageous for overall mortality, though severe obesity was still clearly linked to a shorter life.
Advantageous? That seems odd. How can being overweight be good? Does the book explain that?
It doesn't delve deeply into the proposed mechanisms for the paradox itself, which are complex and debated. Maybe it relates to having more reserves during illness, or maybe it's statistical artifact. Instead, the book pivots to a really important related point, the harm caused by weight stigma.
Okay, so the social aspect.
Exactly. Stigma itself can create this vicious cycle of stress, which can lead to more obesity. People who report experiencing weight discrimination have more than double the odds of becoming obese later, and 3 times the odds of staying obese if they already are.
Wow, so the stigma makes a problem worse.
Significantly worse. And campaigns that label kids as too fat, even if well-intentioned, are actually associated with a higher risk of them becoming obese later on.
That's terrible. So shaming doesn't work.
It backfires, definitely.
Okay, so let's talk interventions. Bariatric surgery comes up a lot. What's the book's take?
Well, it acknowledges that death rates are very low now, maybe 1 in 300 to 1 in 500 for stomach stapling. That's improved massively.
Which is good.
But here's the kicker. The book points to studies where just caloric restriction alone, mimicking the strict diet people follow before and after surgery, led to similar, or sometimes even better, improvements in diabetic control without the surgery.
Wait, so the diet was doing the heavy lifting, not the surgery itself?
It strongly suggests that. In some cases, the surgery might even impose a sort of metabolic disadvantage compared to just the diet change.
Okay, what about diet drugs? There's a long history there.
Oh boy, is there. And it's mostly not pretty. The book recounts the history amphetamine epidemics back in the 60s.
Right, speed.
Yeah. Then drugs pulled for causing lung damage, severe heart valve damage. Remember FemPen?
Yeah. Big lawsuit.
Huge. Then others linked to heart attacks, strokes, even psychiatric side effects, including suicide. A really troubling track record.
And some have. Less dangerous but still unpleasant side effects.
Right, like Ali or Orlistat. They work by blocking fat absorption, which leads to, well, uncontrollable, oily fecal matter. Not exactly appealing. And the book makes this stark point. Pharmaceutical companies actually factor the expected litigation cost into their profit calculations when developing new weight loss drugs.
They expect to be sued.
It's built into the business model, apparently.
Cynical. What about supplements? The over-the-counter stuff?
Mostly useless, according to the evidence. The vast majority of popular slimming supplements fail to outperform simple placebo sugar pills in rigorous trials.
So they just don't work.
Or worse. There's this psychological effect called the curse of licensed self-indulgence.
Licensed self-indulgence.
Yeah. Studies show that people taking a supplement, even if it's just a placebo they think is working, might actually eat more unhealthy food.
Why would they do that?
Because they feel licensed to indulge. They think, oh, I took my supplement, so it's okay to have this extra candy. One study found they ate 30% more candy.
Oh, wow. So the supplement actually leads to worse habits?
It can, yeah. It's a cognitive trap.
Okay, so surgery has issues, drugs are risky, supplements are often useless or worse. Where does that leave us? What does work? Let's get into the building blocks. Fiber seems key in the book.
Absolutely central. Fiber is presented as a kind of unsung hero.
A calorie blocker, how does that work?
Well, think about it. Our bodies only absorb nutrients that actually make contact with the intestinal walls. Fiber is indigestible plant matter. It acts like a carrier, a physical barrier almost. It dilutes calories and helps carry some of them out before they can be absorbed.
So it literally blocks calories from being absorbed.
Some of them, yes.
Yeah.
And there's more. When undigested food, including fiber, reaches the last part of the small intestine, the ileum, it triggers something called the ileal brake.
The ileal brake?
Yeah, it's a feedback mechanism. It signals to your brain to curb appetite. It makes you feel full sooner, maybe 100 or 200 calories earlier than you otherwise would have.
So fiber makes you feel full and blocks some calories? That's a double win.
Exactly. And the story gets even more interesting with the gut-brain connection.
Right, the microbiome.
Yeah. In 2001, there was this big discovery about free fatty acid receptors. Basically, our good gut bacteria ferment the fiber we eat, turning it into these things called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs.
Okay.
These SCFAs get absorbed into our bloodstream, and they can dock onto these special receptors on our immune cells, effectively turning off inflammation.
Whoa. So fiber feeds bacteria that make compounds that fight inflammation.
Precisely. That's a key part of fiber's anti-inflammatory power. It's not just about digestion. It's this deep communication between our gut microbes and our immune system. The book emphasizes that our bodies evolved with guts that were just, quote, literally packed with fiber-filled foods.
Packed with fiber. And now we're not getting nearly enough, right?
Not even close. Pretty much the entire U.S. population fails to eat enough whole plant foods, which is the only natural source of abundant fiber.
That's why things get skewed, like French fries making the top 10 fiber sources.
Isn't that wild? And white bread being the #1 source just because people eat so much of it, even though it's heavily refined and fiber depleted.
So we're missing out on this fundamental thing our bodies expect.
Massively. And the industry knows this. They're exploring drugs to mimic the effect of those SCFAs.
Trying to bottle the benefit.
Right. But the book's point is simple. Why not just eat the fiber as nature intended? Get it from whole, unrefined plant foods. Beans, whole grains, nuts, seeds. Those are the powerhouses.
Not just fruits and veggies.
They have fiber, absolutely. But per weight, they're actually poorer sources because they have so much water. Beans and whole grains pack more punch per gram.
Okay, that's useful. And how do these gut bacteria connect directly to weight?
Well, different bacteria are better or worse at extracting calories from the food passing through your gut. For example, having about 20% more of a certain type, the firmicutes group, was linked to absorbing roughly 150 extra calories per day from the same food.
Just based on the bacteria you have.
Yeah. It's like having a more efficient gut at pulling energy out. And interestingly, lean-type bacteria are found much more often in the stool samples of vegetarians.
And the twin study showed this too, right?
Yes. The human twin studies were really compelling. They transferred gut bacteria from human twins, one obese, one lean, into mice. The mice getting bacteria from the obese twin gained weight rapidly. Those getting bacteria from the lean twin did not. Wow. But here's the crucial part. The lean bacteria only successfully transferred and prevented weight gain if the mice were also fed a healthy diet, low in saturated fat, high in fiber.
So the diet itself is critical for the good bacteria to thrive.
Absolutely. It shows how an unhealthy diet can actively select against the beneficial bacteria we want. It shapes the whole ecosystem.
Okay, so whole foods over supplements for the microbiome.
The evidence points that way. Fiber supplements alone didn't seem to improve the richness or diversity of the microbiome in studies. But whole foods like barley, brown rice, they did. And combining different whole foods seemed to have a synergistic effect.
And specific things like garlic and onions.
Yeah, inulin, which is found in garlic, onions, chicory root, it has a huge bifogenic effect, meaning it massively boosts the good bifidobacteria. On the flip side, very restrictive diets like low FODMAP can sometimes deplete these good guys.
And blueberries.
Polyphenols, found in things like wild blueberries, apples, tea, they also give bifidobacteria a boost. It's all connected.
This leads nicely into calorie density. You mentioned people don't necessarily eat more weight of food.
Right. Obese individuals don't typically eat a larger volume or weight of food per day. They just choose foods that pack more calories into each bite. Higher calorie density.
Because our stomachs have a limited size.
Exactly. Our stomachs register volume, fullness. So if you want to gain weight, you eat more often, or you choose foods with high calorie density. Think oils, nuts, cheese, processed snacks.
And the reverse is true for losing weight.
Yes. Lower the average calorie density of your diet, and you can eat the same amount of food, or even more food by weight or volume, feel just as full, and still lose weight.
How do you do that practically?
The two key strategies the book highlights are: 1, cutting way back on added fats and oils, which are incredibly calorie dense, and 2, deliberately adding more vegetables and fruits, which are high in water and fiber, low in calories.
Diluting the calories per mouthful.
That's the core idea. Dilute the calories.
And combining strategies works best.
Absolutely. Synergy is key. One study found people who cut down on fat while also boosting fruit and veggie intake lost 17 pounds and kept it off for a year. That's significant.
That really is. And the pasta sauce example.
Oh yeah, that was clever. They blended pureed broccoli and cauliflower into pasta sauce for kids. It lowered the calorie density by 25%, and the kids ate 25% fewer calories without even noticing, rating it just as tasty.
Sneaky vegetables.
Effective, sneaky vegetables. Even something like Cheetos Puffs, more air, less dense, resulted in people eating 20% fewer calories than crunchy Cheetos in a sitting. Volume matters.
So the goal is to get the average down.
Yeah, the American Institute for Cancer Research suggests aiming for an average calorie density below 35 calories per ounce for your overall diet.
Okay, that gives a target. Now, what about meat and protein? This is always a big debate.
It is. The book notes that vegans are, on average, about 40 pounds lighter than typical meat eaters.
40 pounds lighter, that's a lot.
It is. Now, it acknowledges it's not just the absence of meat. Vegans often have healthier lifestyles overall.
Right, confounding factors.
But even when studies control for those things, exercise, smoking, alcohol, overall diet quality, they still find a solid link between meat consumption itself and weight gain.
Specifically meat.
Yes. Eating about 3 extra ounces of meat a day was linked to about 3 times the risk of gaining 5 or more pounds over a 20-month period, and particularly abdominal weight gain belly fat.
Interesting. Why might that be? Insulin comes into play here, right?
Yes. The book discusses this insulin obesity cycle. The idea is obesity can lead to insulin resistance.
Where your cells don't respond well to insulin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes your pancreas pump out even more insulin to compensate. And high insulin levels can promote fat storage. So obesity causes insulin resistance. causes high insulin, causes more obesity. It's a cycle.
And this can happen even if you're thin.
That's a key point. Insulin resistance isn't just an obesity thing. Thin people eating high-fat diets can develop it too. They can have similar levels of fat circulating in their bloodstream as obese individuals.
What kind of fat is the main culprit?
Saturated fats seem to be key players, found mainly in meat, dairy, and processed junk foods. They seem to create these toxic breakdown products inside muscle cells that directly interfere with how insulin is supposed to work.
Okay, so saturated fat messes with insulin signaling. What about different protein sources in insulin?
This is fascinating. We often think protein is benign regarding blood sugar, but some animal proteins like egg whites, fish, even poultry can cause really dramatic insulin spikes, sometimes worse than pure sugar.
Worse than sugar. Wow.
Yeah. In contrast, plant-based proteins like corn, that mushroom-based chickenless chicken, were found to be more satiating and cause significantly less of an insulin reaction compared to actual chicken.
And beans.
Beans are great. Whole food plant proteins like beans were associated with cutting the odds of kids becoming overweight by half.
Half the odds.
Yeah. And even just a short 48-hour vegan challenge for regular meat eaters showed significant improvements in metabolic markers, cholesterol, triglycerides, insulin sensitivity really quickly.
48 hours? That's fast.
It suggests the body responds quite rapidly to these dietary shifts.
Okay, what about grains? They get a bad rap sometimes. Refined versus whole.
Big difference. Refined grains, white bread, white pasta, etc., are definitely problematic for weight. Each daily serving was linked to about 0.4 of a pound weight gain over 4 years. It adds up.
Okay, but whole grains?
Whole grains are consistently associated with better weight control. Children eating more than 1.5 servings of whole grains daily had 40% lower odds of being obese.
40% lower odds? That's significant too.
Definitely. Swapping white bread for something like whole grain rye porridge led to people feeling fuller for much longer and reporting less hunger later.
And the book suggests going even further.
Yeah, graduating from just whole grains to intact whole grains. Think oat groats instead of rolled oats, or brown rice instead of whole wheat bread. The less processed, the better the effect seems to be.
Keeping the grain kernel structure intact.
Exactly. Slows down digestion and absorption.
Okay, one last food component. Salt. How does that fit in?
Salt intake has skyrocketed, mostly from processed and manufactured foods, and it's not just about
It
thirst.
makes you drink more, right? Especially sugary drinks.
That's part of it. The book estimates Americans might drink 40 billion fewer soft drinks a year if we just cut our sodium intake in half. That alone is huge for calorie intake.
40 billion fewer sodas.
Wow. But there's also growing evidence of a direct link between sodium and obesity, even independent of total calories consumed. The mechanism isn't fully clear, but the link seems to be there.
And where are we getting most of it? Not just the salt shaker.
No, mostly processed foods. For adults over 50, the number one source is actually bread.
Bread, really?
Yeah. And for younger adults, it's chicken. Often because salt solutions are injected directly into the meat to increase weight and moisture.
Inject it into chicken. Man. Okay, so we've covered a lot about what to eat, what about when and how, the timing aspect, chronobiology.
Right. Our internal body clocks, they have a huge influence. Our digestion, metabolism, hunger hormones, they all run on these natural circadian rhythms. And the evidence is pretty clear. Eating late at night is consistently linked with obesity.
Why is that? Do we burn calories differently?
It seems so. Studies show the calories burned just processing a meal. The thermic effect of food can be 50% higher for a morning meal compared to the exact same meal eaten in the evening.
50% higher burn in the morning.
Yeah. The theory is our body might invest morning calories differently, maybe storing them as readily available glycogen in muscles for the day's activity. Evening calories might be more likely used directly for energy, meaning less body fat is burned overall.
Interesting. And blood sugar control differs too.
Yes, our glucose tolerance naturally drops as the day goes on, so the same meal eaten later in the evening will cause a bigger blood sugar spike than if you ate it earlier.
Okay, so front-loading calories seems beneficial. What about sleep? How does that fit in?
Sleep is critical. Insufficient sleep less than 7 hours for most adults is strongly linked to eating more calories the next day and gaining weight over time. Plus, when you're sleep deprived and losing weight, more of that weight loss tends to come from lean body mass, like muscle, instead of fat, which you don't want.
Right, you want to lose fat, not muscle.
Exactly. On the flip side, getting enough sleep, 7 or more hours, is associated with greater fat loss during weight loss efforts.
So sleep quality really matters for body composition.
Absolutely. And even morning daylight exposure might be a factor. It could help regulate those circadian rhythms and even influence mood, which affects eating.
And we tend to eat more when days are shorter.
Seems to be a pattern, yeah. Maybe related to light exposure or seasonal mood changes.
All right, what about how fast we eat? Liquid versus solid calories.
Big difference there. Our bodies just don't seem to register calories from liquids as effectively as from solid foods. There was a study where people got extra sugar, either as jelly beans or as soda. Same calories.
Okay.
The jelly bean group naturally compensated by eating less later in the day. The soda group did not compensate at all, leading to weight gain over time.
So the liquid calories just slipped under the radar.
Pretty much. And eating speed matters too. Eating more slowly, taking more time, chewing more thoroughly consistently leads to lower calorie intake in studies.
Chewing more, like the apple versus Jell-O example.
Yeah, exactly. Chewing apples took around 186 chews for a certain amount, while Jell-O took only 23 chews. More chewing was correlated with lower weight gain. And part of that is the cephalic phase response.
Cephalic phase.
It means head phase.
Yeah.
Your brain actually starts the digestive process and calorie burning just from the signals it gets from your mouth, taste, texture, the act of chewing itself, even before food hits your stomach. And this cephalic phase accounts for maybe half the calories your body burns just to process the meal. Chewing well really jumpstarts metabolism.
Just from chewing and tasting. Wow. Okay, let's talk exercise again. You said earlier it wasn't the main predictor of weight gain.
Right, compared to calorie intake. But that doesn't mean exercise isn't vital. It's absolutely crucial for overall health, reducing cancer risk, improving bone density, mood, everything.
But for weight loss alone.
Relying only on exercise for weight loss is often disappointing. Studies typically show only about 3 pounds lost over 6 months with exercise alone.
Only 3 pounds, why so little?
Well, our bodies can compensate. Exercise might increase hunger signals. Or there's that psychological license to eat again. I worked out hard, so I deserve this treat. We rationalize.
The self-licensing strikes again.
Yep. However, exercise is absolutely critical for preserving muscle mass when you are losing weight through diet changes. You lose more fat and less muscle.
That's important.
And even just non-exercise activity, fidgeting, standing, walking around, more spontaneous movement can burn hundreds of extra calories a day. It all adds up.
So stay active, even if not formally exercising.
Definitely. And timing exercise after meals can significantly improve blood sugar control, blunt those post-meal spikes.
Okay. What about cold exposure, brown fat? That sounds interesting.
It is pretty fascinating. We have this special type of fat called brown adipose tissue, or BA. Its main job is to burn fat to generate heat.
So it's metabolically active fat.
Exactly. And exposing yourself to cool temperatures, nothing extreme, maybe like 63 degrees Fahrenheit or 17 Celsius, for a couple of hours a day can activate this brown fat. This can increase your daily calorie burning and lead to measurable fat loss over time.
Just by being a bit chilly.
Essentially, yeah. And even cooler, white fat cells, the regular storage fat, can actually transform into these fat-burning beige or bright cells with cold exposure or other stimuli.
Turning storage fat into burning fat, that sounds like the holy grail.
It's an active area of research. Now, lots of foods show promise for activating brown fat in lab animals or test tubes.
But in humans?
The evidence is thinner, but hot peppers, specifically the capsaicin, have been shown to boost the thermic effect of food, that post-meal calorie burn, by about 30% in humans.
30% boost from hot peppers. Nice. Anything else?
Ginger, menthol, like from mint, and grains of paradise also show some promise in human studies. Green tea is interesting, too.
Green tea comes up a lot for health.
It does. It's associated with lower body weight and better lipid profiles. The younger leaves used for green tea also tend to have significantly less lead contamination than black or oolong teas.
Less lead. Okay, good to know. Any downsides?
High-dose green tea extracts have been linked to liver damage in some cases, so sticking to brewed tea is generally safer.
And coffee.
Coffee has benefits liver health, brain function, alertness. But the data for significant weight loss isn't really strong, and of course it can mess with sleep for many people.
Right. Okay, let's shift to the psychological side. Habits and mindset.
Yeah, this is huge. Habits really dictate so much of our behavior. Maybe up to 95% of daily actions are somewhat automatic.
95%.
But the good news is habits aren't set in stone. They're vulnerable to context changes.
How so?
Simple things, like just getting junk food out of sight off the counter, out of the house, and replacing it with visible, healthy snacks. that changes the cues.
Changing the environment.
Exactly. Or using major life events like moving house or starting a new job as opportunities to consciously build new, healthier routines, disrupting the old patterns.
And that study with the teenagers was clever.
Oh, the stick it to the man study. Yeah, that was brilliant. Instead of just saying, eat carrots, they're healthy, they framed it as resisting manipulative food industry marketing.
Playing on their desire for independence.
Totally. And it worked better at getting them to choose carrots over Cheetos, appealing to autonomy and rebellion rather than just health.
Very smart. But we also trick ourselves, right? The self-licensing thing again.
Absolutely. We are masters of self-licensing and even self-delusion when it comes to food. We tend to exaggerate our recent good behavior, oh, I had a salad for lunch, to rationalize making an unhealthy choice later, so I deserve this cake.
Been there.
We all have. And that curse of licensed self-indulgence even applies to future intentions.
What do you mean?
Just thinking about making a healthy choice later, like planning to have a healthy snack tomorrow, can make you more likely to choose an unhealthy option right now.
Seriously. Just planning to be good later makes you bad now.
It's like our brain gives us credit in advance, licensing the immediate indulgence. It's a really powerful cognitive bias to be aware of.
Wow. Okay, so bringing this all together, what does the book say constitutes an optimal weight loss approach? It has criteria, right?
Yes, it lays out clear criteria. An optimal diet must be 1, sustainable. You have to be able to stick with it long term, so not starvation. 2, safe, no dangerous side effects. 3, life extending it should ideally improve health span and lifespan, not shorten it. And 4, efficacious, it actually has to work effectively for weight loss.
Sustainable, safe, life extending, and effective. Makes sense. So which approach ticks the most boxes according to the book's analysis?
The evidence presented consistently points towards whole food, plant-based nutrition.
Plant-based again?
Yeah. Remember the stat about vegetarians weighing, on average, 20 pounds less?
Right.
And they often eat more calories, maybe 400 more per day, likely because their diets are so high in fiber, which affects calorie absorption and fullness, as we discussed.
Eating more, but weighing less.
It sounds paradoxical, but the calorie density and fiber make a huge difference. And randomized controlled trials back this up. Studies show people put on purely plant-based diets consistently lose about twice as much weight as people on diets that include meat, even fish.
Twice as much weight.
Yes. And typically, this is without any specific instructions to limit calories or portions and without adding extra exercise. The diet itself seems to drive the weight loss.
Just by changing the food quality.
Exactly. And interestingly, the rate of weight loss on a whole food, plant-based diet can sometimes even accelerate the longer someone stays on it, which is the opposite of most conventional diets where weight loss stalls.
Okay, what about fasting? That's hugely popular now. Intermittent fasting, keto.
The book addresses these and makes important distinctions. Prolonged water-only fasting, for instance, isn't generally recommended clinically anymore due to risks like electrolyte imbalances.
Yeah.
And interestingly, in those prolonged fasts, less than half the weight loss initially is actually fat. A lot is water and lean tissue.
Ah, okay. Not ideal. What about keto?
Ketogenic diets definitely lower blood sugar in the short term, which can be good for diabetics. But the book raises concerns that they might actually worsen underlying carbohydrate intolerance long term. Your body sort of forgets how to handle carbs efficiently. Plus, very high-fat, low-fiber keto diets can reduce the diversity of your gut flora, which might not be good for overall health.
So potential downsides there, but intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating.
Some forms show more promise. Alternate day fasting, for example, seems to produce weight loss comparable to just eating less every day. Continuous caloric restriction. People find it easier sometimes. And early time-restricted eating, like finishing all your food by mid-afternoon or early evening, seems potentially powerful, especially when combined with a healthy, plant-predominant diet during the eating window, aligning eating with circadian rhythms.
Okay, so the timing combined with the quality seems key there.
That seems to be the takeaway.
All right, so let's get really practical. What are some specific, actionable boosters or tweaks the book suggests people can try?
Yeah, it offers a whole list of things to experiment with. One is preloading with water.
Just drinking water before meals.
Specifically, about 2 cups of cool or cold, unflavored water, around 30 minutes before each meal. This can give your metabolism a slight temporary boost, and studies show, especially in older adults, it can lead to eating about 13% fewer calories at that meal.
13% less just from water. Simple enough. What else?
Strategic exercise timing. We mentioned exercising after meals is good for blood sugar. Ideally, you'd start about 30 minutes after eating and go for at least an hour if possible to cover that blood sugar peak. After dinner seems best for overall blood sugar control, but really, after any meal helps.
Okay, exercise timing. Got it.
Weighing yourself regularly. Self-monitoring is crucial for accountability.
How often?
The book suggests twice daily might be even better than once. Weigh yourself right when you wake up and again right before bed. Some studies showed this led to potentially greater weight loss, like 6 pounds versus 2 pounds over 12 weeks compared to once a day weighing. Maybe just keeps you more mindful.
Twice a day. Interesting. Sleep.
Yep, get enough sleep. Aim for at least 7 hours, ideally on a regular schedule. As we said, better sleep is consistently linked to better weight loss outcomes.
Okay, that's fundamental. What about that weird bed tilting thing? Trendelenburg.
Ah, yes, the
Yeah.
mild Trendelenburg position.
Yeah.
This is more experimental. It involves elevating the foot of your bed by about 8 inches, creating a slight 6-degree incline.
Sleeping slightly head down.
Yeah. The theory is it might subtly shift fluid balance and boost fat metabolism overnight. Needs more research, but some small studies are intriguing. You'd want to do it for at least 4 hours a night.
Any risks?
Definitely be careful getting up. Standing up suddenly from that position can cause dizziness or lightheadedness, so caution is needed.
Okay, maybe one for the adventurous. Any food boosters? Specific ingredients?
Yes, a few standouts. Vinegar, like apple cider vinegar, but others work too. 1 or 2 tablespoons a day, maybe diluted in water or on a salad. Linked to modest abdominal fat loss and better blood sugar control.
Vinegar. Okay.
Yacon syrup. It's a sweet syrup from a South American root, acts as a prebiotic, feeding good gut bacteria. Fewer calories than honey or sugar. Chia seeds, they absorb a lot of water, become gelatinous. Studies show they can be more satiating than yogurt at the same calorie level, helping with fullness.
Chia pudding, maybe?
Could work. And cumin, the spice. Surprisingly, some studies showed cumin powder, maybe a teaspoon a day, worked about as well as some weight loss drugs for achieving a few pounds of loss over a couple of months.
Cumin. Wow. Easy enough to add to food.
Exactly. So these are small things, boosters, not magic bullets.
But they add up. And the main message is consistency, right?
Absolutely. The book really emphasizes it's not about what you eat today or tomorrow. It's the pattern over months, years, decades. The goal isn't a quick fix. It's finding sustainable lifestyle changes that genuinely fit into your life long term.
That makes sense. It's a long game.
It really is. And this deep dive, I think, really shows us that path to sustainable weight management. It's just way more complex than eat less, move more. It's about understanding our environment, our own physiology, those internal clocks, the gut microbiome, and making truly informed choices about the quality and the timing of our food, not just obsessing over quantity.
Quality and timing over quantity. I like that.
And what stands out again and again is how the data seems to converge on that whole food plant-based pattern as the most robust foundation. It supports health, helps with weight control, and crucially, often allows people to eat satisfying amounts of food without feeling constantly hungry or deprived.
Yeah, that lack of hunger seems key for sustainability. And it contrasts sharply with how diets are often ranked, doesn't it?
Exactly. The book makes that great point. When expert panels rank best diets, sometimes ease of compliance or palatability gets weighted just as heavily as the diet's actual effectiveness in preventing or reversing disease.
Right, like the bulletproof vest analogy you mentioned. Saying flannel wins for comfort even though Kevlar actually stops the bullets.
Precisely. We sometimes prioritize ease over efficacy, even when health is on the line.
Which brings us back to that big question. If we have so much compelling evidence pointing towards what truly works for health and sustainable weight management, why isn't that the default? Why is our whole system, farming subsidies, food marketing, the sheer availability of processed foods, still seemingly geared towards making us overfat and sick?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It involves economics, politics, psychology, culture, deep-seated issues.
So maybe the final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over is this. If changing your immediate food environment, consciously choosing these calorie-dilute, fiber-rich, whole plant foods, and maybe layering in some of these science-backed tweaks we discussed, if that can lead to significant, sustainable weight loss without constant hunger or obsessive calorie counting, what could happen if we as individuals, and maybe even as a society, genuinely aimed higher? What if we stopped settling for just moderation in fundamentally unhealthy habits and actually, shot for the stars based on the best available evidence? What would be the very first change you'd make in your own environment starting today?